Oftentimes, when I'm talking with my family, my friends, my clients, and other industry professionals, I hear a lot of statements about the Halifax real estate market that are pretty hot takes, but they're not necessarily true. So today I'm going to talk about the top 5 myths that I hear, or maybe we can call them misconceptions about the Halifax real estate market. And make sure you stick around till the end because the last one is not only one of my favorite misconceptions about the real estate market, but it's also great advice for buyers if you're looking to buy a home in Halifax. Now I'm going to get right into this one, but before I do, if you're new here, my name's Andrew Stevens, and I've been a realtor in Halifax for almost 9 years now. And if you're looking to be educated on the Halifax real estate market, then this is the channel for you. So hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. If you're curious about making a move or you want to know what your home is worth in Halifax, you can reach out to me anytime in the Calendar link below my description at a time when it's convenient for you. All right, so getting right into it, myth number 1, the Halifax real estate market is going to crash. Now, this is a common one that I hear all the time out of the streets when I'm doing my day-to-day job, but the reality is it's not that surprising when you consider how fast the market grew and how much it grew over just the last few years. And I honestly think that Haligonians are having a very, very difficult time adjusting to these new purchase prices that we're seeing in Halifax, and also just are having a hard time believing that they're really going to hold up in the grand scheme of things. But just saying the market is going to crash doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. What we have here in Nova Scotia is a bit of a unique market, and I feel like our real estate was undervalued for many, many years. And then since the pandemic, a lot of variables really led to, where we are today. So those variables such as the pandemic itself and everybody being able to work from home, we had really low interest rates, we had low priced real estate as well back then, we had population growth, we had a really supply and demand issue, and we have no listing inventory on the market. Now, because of all these variables and more, now we are where we are today. And I think the last year has really, really proven that we're going to stick around where we're at, because even with the dip in the market, it wasn't too bad, and now we're already back up to where we were. And the reality is these prices seem like they're here to stay. And the big thing I've noticed since our market, and this is what I talk about a lot, is that we've really been discovered, and we've been discovered by the rest of Canada and other parts of the world as well. And people are seeing our coastlines and seeing our real estate, and the affordability to them is a lot different than it is to us as Haligonians who have lived here for a long time. So is a market crash possible? Yes, of course it is. I'm never going to rule that out, and there could be a lot of crazy things happening in the world that could lead us to that point. But the main problems that we have in our real estate market that have led us to get to where we are today are still going to be a problem for many, many years to come. We're still going to have a supply issue and all these types of things. So do I see it changing in the near future? No, not drastically. And do I see it crashing? No, I definitely do not. But could it happen? Sure. I'm not going to argue with you in the comment section, but the reality is I do not foresee that happening. And I think if you ask anybody in the real estate industry, they would say the same thing. Remember, the real estate market is always cyclical and it's going up and down, but long term, it generally yields positive results. Since 1980, we're talking 43 years or almost half a century. The real estate prices in HRM have only decreased year over year one time, and that was back in between 1994 and 1995, and it was a very minimal amount. So my point is, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, don't let the scare of a market crash stop you from making a well-informed decision. All right, so moving on to myth number 2, and that is that all homes are overpriced. Now, again, this is kind of going back to the market crash thing and everybody kind of having a hard time wrapping their head around the new price points. But to say that all homes are overpriced would be incorrect. It's not to say that some are not overpriced and some are not overheated, but not every single home in Halifax is overpriced. And while some areas in Halifax are hotter than others, the reality is you can still find good quality homes for a solid price in the HRM. It just depends what you're looking for and where you are looking. Remember, market value is determined based on what a willing buyer is willing to pay for a property and what a willing seller is willing to accept for that property. So it's the consumer who drives the price points, believe it or not. Us as realtors have nothing to do with it. But the point is, the market value is what the buyer's willing to buy it for and what the seller's willing to sell it for. And in our marketplace, we're still seeing a ton of sales happening. Even though sales are down, that's more of an inventory problem, not necessarily a problem of people wanting to pay those price points. And in fact, in April, we saw about half the homes selling in HRM selling over the asking price. So to say they're having issues with the price points, I would say is incorrect. If I think back respect to the market in 2021, I can think of a ton of conversations I had with the public and with the consumers and with buyers in general about how overpriced the homes were in 2021. But imagine this, if you purchased a home in 2021, right now, you'd be sitting on about 15% equity in your property. So in other words, if you bought a home for $500,000 in 2021 and everybody was calling you out and saying, oh, that home's overpriced, I can't believe you paid that, you would be sitting on about $75,000 worth of equity right now on average throughout HRM. All right, so moving on to myth number 3, and that is that owners that purchase their property in April of 2022 will be screwed. So this myth stems from the idea that if you bought at the peak in April of 2022, that you'll be screwed down the line when you go to sell your property and you'll never get your money back. But fortunately for those owners, that is just incorrect. So if you purchased in April of 22 at what we would consider the peak of the market, the reality is the market has already dipped and it's basically already back up to where it was. So yes, if you purchased a property in April of 2022 and then you tried to sell it in September of 2022, yes, you would be effectively screwed. But the reality is if you're buying a home, it should be a long-term investment. So you shouldn't be selling in 6 months anyway. And already those people are already back up pretty much to the same average purchase price that we were seeing at the peak in April. So will they be screwed? Well, if they go to sell in 4 years, I really don't think they will be. If anything, the prices will continue to go up from here is what I would be projecting for the years to come. All right, so moving on to myth number 4, and that is that selling a home in this market is easy. So I'm better off doing it myself instead of hiring a real estate agent. While it may be tempting to sell your own home and save those fees for the commission, it's important to realize what real estate professionals bring to the table. An experienced agent can guide you through the process and help you through all the market dynamics, the legal aspects, and they can negotiate on your behalf as well. Remember, it's all well and good to sell your own property if it goes smoothly, but oftentimes it doesn't. And that's what we're here for as listing agents. We're here to represent you and your best interests and to help you get your home sold for top dollar and to market your home to the masses. At the end of the day, most serious buyers are working with a buyer's agent, meaning that as a seller, you're likely going to end up paying their buyer's commission as it is. So really, you're only going to save a couple percent if you go to list yourself. But the reality is you're cutting out so much of your market. You should be going to the MLS with a realtor, marketing your property to the masses with a proper listing strategy in place, and that'll bring more showings, more offers, and probably putting more money in your pocket at the end of the day. Now remember, when you're selling your biggest asset, it's not the time to cut the costs. You want to look at what you're putting in your pocket at the end of the day as what your net income will be, not the couple percent that you're paying for commission to a real estate agent. All right, so that brings us to our last and final myth. That is number 5, and that is that buyers will get a better deal if they go through the listing agent directly. So some buyers believe that by bypassing a buyer's agent and going directly to the listing agent that they will get a better deal on that property, but it is not necessarily true. Listing agents are under contract with the seller and they have fiduciary duties to get them the best deal possible for their house and to represent the seller and their best interest, not you as an unrepresented buyer. Now, on the other hand, you have the buyer's agent who helps the buyer and represents the buyer and their best interest, and their fiduciary duty is with the buyer's best interest in heart. So hiring a buyer's agent means you have somebody working for you and your best interest on your side. In the market that we're in right now, oftentimes when you list a home as the listing agent, you're getting inundated with inquiries nonstop, and sometimes those fall through the cracks. So not only is it difficult to get into homes when you're going right through the listing agent from time to time, but then you have nobody representing you and your best interest. And in this market, it's really complex, it's changing rapidly all the time, and it really is in your best interest as a buyer to get a buyer's agent. Another common misconception with this myth as well is that if you go through the listing agent will be discounting their commission because they're on both sides of the deal. Now, that does happen from time to time, and it depends on the realtor and what their situation is with that client. But I can tell you that oftentimes it is not the case and it is not true. And if it's a multiple offer situation, that listing agent, when they discount their commission, if they choose to do so, if they're on both sides of the deal, they have to inform every other buyer who's offering on that property. So if the listing agent then tells all those other buyers that, hey, you're at a disadvantage because I'm shaving a percent off my commission because I have an offer in hand that is, an unrepresented buyer, then all those buyers have an opportunity to then increase their offer to make up that difference if they choose to do so. And oftentimes in multiple offer situations, agents just refuse to discount because they don't like the idea of putting anybody at a disadvantage and they don't want to do that. So the moral of the story on this one is get a good buyer's agent. It's one of the hardest times in the history of Halifax real estate to purchase a home in Halifax, so it's not something you want to be doing alone. You should get a buyer's agent that can properly guide you through the steps and that can help you negotiate and will look after your best interests. All right, so there you have it. Those are kind of the 5 most common misconceptions or myths that I hear about in the Halifax real estate market. And some of those are kind of typical for every real estate market, and some of them are Halifax specific. But the point is, these are all things that are common. They're things that the consumer oftentimes thinks are true, but they're not necessarily true. And it's not to say that they're not true from time to time, but they're not always true. It's just not always the case. Now, if you have any questions about this video or the Halifax real estate market in general, don't forget you can click my Calendly link below in the description and you can book a call or a meeting with me anytime at your convenience. And if you're still here watching and you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you throw the like on there and you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content. And that'll help push this out to more people like you who might be interested in seeing content about educating them on the Halifax real estate market. And if you're still here watching, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it, and have a great day.